we don't, but there are people who have kids who have been diagnosed who are young, and their kids collect Social Security.
Yeah.
And we don't really understand how that happens because these kids have never had a job, but I think it's something related to disability. I've read about it before, and we've kind of researched it. It really looks like a ton of paperwork.
Yeah, I think some kids get it at a young age, and other kids, I don't know if they wait till they're 18 or what, but it is a disability, so...
All right, it's a world record. It's 9:30 on Saturday morning. We've only heard Baby Shark like 15 times.
15. He's at it.
No, and that is a world record. Like, usually we would be hearing it a lot more.
Well, he has his Play-Doh. He made his whole Baby Shark family.
Baby Shark. I like it when he tries to race through it as fast as he can.
He does it fast.
Baby Shark, Mommy Shark, Daddy Shark, Grandpa Shark, let's go hunt. Let's go.
He does. Oh, my gosh.
What was I going to say?
I have no idea.
Are you talking loud enough?
Am I? I don't know.
Okay.
This is all new for me.
Yeah, the last one, it was just you were a little, but that was my fault, but it was a little quiet.
Me and the mic don't like each other.
Why?
I don't know.
It's better than a mic and no camera. Like, you wouldn't like a mic and a camera.
Oh, no.
So this is
I definitely would not.
Yeah, this is much better.
And it's better. There's no audience. It's just me and you.
Yeah, see, I kind of like the audience. And
I know you do. You want hundreds of thousands of people.
I get much more, I don't know what it is, just because this is like, you got Ugg boots and...
I knew you were going to talk about my outfit.
Rolling Stones shirt that's like 10 years old and flannel pajamas, which are even older.
Oh my God, you're so ridiculous. It's the morning. I just cooked breakfast. I deserve to be in my pajamas.
You cook breakfast and we got a free Baby Shark concert, which is really every morning. Which is the world of autism, man. They find one thing, and they will hammer it home.
Yeah, he's been hooked on this for a long time. I wonder if it'll last forever, because usually they do pick something.
We were at the Clearwater Beach Pier years ago, and we saw a huge hammerhead shark, remember?
Yes.
And he, just focused on it forever and ever and ever. I don't know what it is.
He was 7 months old.
Yeah, but it's sharks for him. He's found it, and everyone's got their thing. Like, I was reading something on LinkedIn the other day, and this guy, he was talking about his autistic son, who I think is about Cal's age, and they have had to go out and buy all of these car wash subscriptions, like the passes. You can go to a car wash and get your car wash. It's like $15 or whatever. They have to buy the monthly pass to get unlimited,
which is pretty crazy because for him, he's scared of it.
Yeah, well, this kid loves it, but the dad was talking about how him and the mom sit in the car. And they literally have to go around and around for hours.
Oh, my gosh.
Wash. And he said that people are looking at him and it's the cleanest car in the car wash because it just keeps going around and around and around. But he said, you don't understand if you're not involved in this life, you can't just pull out of that car wash and go home.
No way.
I mean, it will change your entire day.
That's why
for the good.
We don't do the car wash, but I feel like we do things that you have to do a certain way, just when you exit a school even.
He'll tell you if he wants to go right, if he wants to go left, and if you don't do that, you have to have a backup plan. We'll get on our golf cart, and he'll tell you, that's kind of his really wide open thing when you get on the golf cart, and he'll go right, or because if we're on the golf cart driving around, then we don't really have anywhere to be, so we can do what he wants. So he'll say go right, and we'll go right. He'll say right, we'll go right. We'll say right.
Yeah, and then
keep going right,
and we keep going around and around,
around and around and around and around, and he loves every second of it.
Yeah, maybe that's where I got it.
And then he
relatable moment.
Yeah, but I remember reading this thing just a couple of days ago on LinkedIn, and this guy's like, I don't know how many hundreds of dollars I spend on these passes to go, these unlimited monthly passes over and over. And he's like, and the funny thing is I never need a car wash. Like, I don't need a car wash. It's like we went through one time, and his kid was just, this is it.
But I'm sure the stimulation, you're seeing the roller things, you're seeing the water, the feeling of it, you can kind of feel it, the vibration of it.
Yeah, and I think that it's dark, you know what I mean, and that may give some.
Yeah.
They're pretty dark, and then there's the water and how that sounds when it hits it, and then like you said, the vibration, and then that dryer,
the blow dryer, yeah.
And your windshield wipers are shaking, everything. This actually makes me want to go to a car wash now.
I wouldn't mind trying it again. The last time he tried it was probably a year or two ago, and he was scared. So, and you never really know if he's going to like something or not.
Here's the problem. Once you're in those car, like you can't just get out. You know
I
what
know.
mean?
So that's kind of the scary thing, like the fireworks. Like we talked about the fireworks, you know?
Yeah, you have to like run. But once you're in the car wash, you're kind of locked in. I mean, if you have somebody who's autistic and let's say they're going through the first time and they have a freak out moment, I mean, you just can't get out of a car wash. You have to.
Yeah, you're right.
I guess you can go through those little ones maybe and test it out. But you make a wrong move with that and you're asking for huge trouble.
Oh, gosh.
I know, it's scary.
Maybe you can go to the other car wash where you can see through the window.
Maybe you could practice at home. Like you could put him in the car and then get the hose and just spray it off and just see what the reaction is.
Yeah,
like
that's a good idea.
Windows.
But this is how much you have to overthink when it comes to an autistic child and putting yourself and them in certain situations.
Think about that family, right? Every time they drive by a car wash, they have to hope and pray to Jesus in heaven that their kid doesn't see the car wash or he's going to want to
have a meltdown.
Have a meltdown if you don't go in.
Oh, gosh.
No, but that's so true. It's like that. And sometimes we're like that with a park, like driving by a park or something, because he loves parks.
Yeah, and when he wants something, even when he says right or left and you go the opposite way of what he wants to go, it's a meltdown.
What's the ice cream place down the street?
Rita's.
Some days we drive by and he looks, ice cream. And I'm like, oh no. Like they're not even open. I'm like, we can't go there. They're not open.
I got him an ice cream cone yesterday through the drive-thru from somewhere else. And of course he likes to eat it from the bottom. And we're driving in the car. He's in his car seat. I'm like, please. I was like, eat the ice cream. And he's laughing because he's eating the bottom and it's all just going to come out.
Yeah. You and I are different. Ice cream in the car with him. Eating it in the car with him. I'm just not in on it. But you do that, and that's cool.
I gave him a treat. And you know why I gave him a treat? Because we dropped off his sister at a sleepover, and he usually cries when anyone leaves the vehicle, and he's not going with them. He hates to say bye. He wants us all together.
Well, his big sister, his oldest sister, I should say. He's got two big sisters. She had a sleepover yesterday. Charlie had a sleepover, right? And so he shares a room with Charlie.
Yeah, so she chose to.
Yeah, she wants to.
Yes.
She's kind of the motherly of the group,
right?
If you will.
Yes.
And so she had a sleepover there with a friend, and so she's got to do that because she's got to live her life and enjoy her life and have friendships and relationships and stuff. Well, we just knew last night, Cal. I mean, he was just in and out of his room, in and out, in and out, in and out. It just, and you just knew. I mean, we're sitting here last night and having a couple of cocktails. And you could just sense there was just not that normalcy, and he wasn't going to be normal last night.
And
whatever normal is,
he didn't even mention her, and I think it's because he was so upset inside, like he knew he was going to have a meltdown.
Yeah.
If we even mentioned her name,
we actually thought about when Austin fell asleep, the other girl, his other sister, carrying her in there and like putting her under the blankets, hopefully tricking him that was Charlie.
Yes.
And so he would just see that there was another body in the room. But then the thought was he'll probably at some point discover it's Austin and not Charlie, and then the volcanic eruption will start. Like, this is what's crazy. It's Friday night, and we're thinking about hiding bodies in his room just to trick him to go to bed. You know what I mean?
That sounds so weird.
Well, yeah.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, it really does, doesn't it? And that's just exactly what we were talking about.
Yeah.
We're like, maybe we should carry her in, put her under the blankets. He'll just see they kind of have the same hair.
Yeah.
And maybe he'll just look over and be like, oh, there's Charlie. I see
oh
her
my
hair.
gosh.
But he's like an investigator. He's like a forensic scientist. I think he would go over and start feeling her face and ears and go.
And he'd probably freak out.
He would freak out that it's not,
Yes.
He doesn't want Austin in his room. He wants Charlie.
Well, and luckily
God,
with him.
What a maniacal life we live. This is crazy.
Oh my gosh. We do have to think about everything. But one thing with autistic kids is a lot of them don't sleep well. He luckily sleeps well. A lot of people have to use melatonin and stuff. It's definitely an issue for people.
Yeah, I see a lot of people clowning on melatonin, even special needs families, saying it really doesn't work.
Well, I've never taken it, and I don't.
I've taken it. I couldn't. Somebody told me it's not that it helps you fall asleep. It's when you get to sleep, you get a better sleep. I don't know.
I'm just saying a lot of families struggle with sleep issues with autistic children. Luckily, I mean, he does share a room with Charlie, and she can lay with him for 2 seconds and he'll fall asleep.
That's funny you brought up the melatonin. Something I've been, I just research.
All the time.
Yeah. I'm a curious person, and it's just interesting to look at this stuff. I do believe there is a market of products and services that target special needs families unfairly. Don't get me wrong. I think there are some products that are awesome, some services that are awesome. You've really got to dig around to find them. But there are things that people try to sell, and just because it's like, oh, special needs families, and I think the assumption is honestly that they're desperate. They'll do anything for their kids. They're desperate. It's so horrible. It's so unfair. But I really do think there's a big market for that.
Well, a lot of, like for instance, I see a lot of stuff about probiotics for gut issues.
Yep.
I mean, yeah, you're right. They're desperate. I mean, think about how much stuff we buy, not like supplements like that, which we should probably get a probiotic, but we get like toys and like objects, tools, basically to use for him.
And 80%, maybe not 80, that's probably unfair. 60 to 70%, it really is junk.
Yeah,
we wind
they
up
don't
returning
work.
It doesn't work. The bite bracelets, we've returned more bite bracelets than we've kept.
And I also have to keep getting them.
They say indestructible. Within 3 minutes, these bite bracelets are in pieces, and they're automatic choking hazards.
Yeah, so our thing with him is, again, a lot of autistic children. One common thing is like mouthing things, and he's done it from the beginning, but he still to this day puts things in his mouth, and he's 4.5 years old, but like I said, he's like a 2-year-old, so then it becomes, he can choke, and it's everything. He puts anything and everything in his mouth, but that mouthing has also led to biting. He bites himself, which is awful, and I don't actually hear about a lot of people doing it. I mean, I'm sure there are kids out there that do it, but there's special bite bracelets, but they don't work.
I know we've got a few on our counter now that we have to send back.
Well, those are like so flimsy, and I cannot even believe they sold it.
No, total rip. But I know, and that's what I'm saying. There are really a lot of companies out there that I can almost hear these people in the boardroom going like, "Look, special needs families are desperate. They'll try anything. They'll spend their money on anything, And once they get this, they'll forget to return it, and we'll still make our money." Like, it's sad, but it's true. Like, I just think it's like we are a segment of a population where I think people go, just sell it to them, they'll buy it, they'll try anything. Like, we really are, and there is some truth to it. Like, special needs families are we're very guinea piggy. We will try things.
Well, it's not a one size fits all.
I know. So we will try things. And so they're right about that. It's just unfair that the product, well, not unfair, I guess it's just life, that the product and sometimes the services were never going to work. They just were not going to work. But if you really read into like the psychographics of this whole thing, like special needs families, you really have to, it's terrible because we've been dealt this crazy hand, which isn't necessarily bad. It's just challenging, especially if you've got other kids that don't, have these issues. But you have to be careful what you buy and spend your money on.
Yeah. And even on that box, it says for 3+ because of choking hazard.
Yeah.
He's 4.5. He's like a 2-year-old. So it just that you can't even look at the age stuff like that when you're buying something. For his Christmas presents this year, and this what kind of makes me want to cry, is I was looking at
first cry of the morning at 9:52 Eastern time.
It just never gets easier. I'm trying to look for Christmas presents for him, and I'm looking for autistic toys and researching all this stuff, but because of the choking issue, I'm looking at 18-month toys. 18 to 24-month-old toys. Not a 4-year-old.
I know.
Not a 2 or 3-year-old. 18 months. So that stuff never gets easier.
But then you have to be careful.
Punches you in the gut.
It is, but then you have to be careful with the choking hazards because at that age, their mouth is a lot smaller. Well, his mouth is a lot bigger. So a normal toy for 18 months old, it could be a choking hazard.
And now he has strong teeth.
Yeah, yes. And not only does he have strong teeth and a strong jaw, like you said, he now also realizes that when he attempts to stuff his mouth with things, it gets our attention. So he does it. You know what I mean? It's now a trigger of he's like, oh, I know my parents are worried about me choking, so I'm going to fill my mouth up with things that may choke me so that they will run over to me and pay attention. Like, it is scary when you look over and he's got a mouthful of rubber sharks and dolphins and and I'm like, oh my God. So you want to be really careful because if you like jolt and jump and run to him, he may try to swallow him.
So like,
you kind of want to pretend that it's not happening, but it's like scaring the hell out of you.
Yeah, you're supposed to.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. We react a certain way to our typical children. So reacting to him, you have to react different, which is all a learning thing. One thing that I found out through this process of him getting diagnosed and everything is through OT is he's a seeker and he's an avoider. So he will avoid things, especially like if you've noticed if we're at a party or something and it's people are new, he'll at first avoid you or situations. And then he's also a seeker where he wants your attention and he's going to stuff his mouth. And he does that with food too.
And I think one of the therapists or a couple has said that many times they are either seeker or avoiders.
And he's both.
It's rare that they're both.
Yes.
Yeah. I remember that conversation because I was like, this sounds like some really ridiculous human resources survey of like that big companies do to try to figure out what kind of employee you are. And they're like, oh, he's both a seeker and an avoider. I'm like, I think when I was at CBS Radio, I was like, I think I had to take some test, and it came back that like you were something like that.
Oh,
like,
my.
Yeah, they were trying to like figure out what kind of employee you were so they could manage you differently and everything. And I'm like, oh, now my kid's a seeker and avoider. It's very strange.
Well, and you can see it, right? You can see it with him.
Yeah, interestingly enough, I did not see it until they explained it, and then they explained it. And it's just like, it's like clarity and learning and education. That's why these therapists, a lot of them are just, they're really good and or they have really good information, because that was an example. We didn't understand seeking and avoiding, and then it's like, oh no, he'll seek and then he'll avoid, or he'll avoid and then he'll immediately seek. And now you see it all the time, like automatic. Like I can tell in my head, I'll go, oh, he's seeking. Oh, here comes an avoidance. Oh, it's an avoidance. Oh, now he's going to seek.
I know.
I'm insane.
And it does make him so much more complicated.
I took a shower the other day and I actually said out loud, I'm insane. I'm insane.
You're so ridiculous.
I'm like, I'm insane. The
my
things
God.
I think about, I'm certifiably insane.
No, because we're trying to keep him safe and figure him out and what's best, and it's hard. It makes you a little crazy.
I was singing "Let's Go Hunt" the other day from the Baby Shark at the end. I was sitting here by myself. I was writing a paper for my administrative law class. I'm finishing my degree for law school, and I had taken a little break because I was between paragraphs and kind of between thoughts. And I just sat back and I go, let's go hunt, dun, 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 dun. Let's go hunt, dun, 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 dun. Let's go hunt.
I've actually heard you do it before.
And really, oh boy, that's terrible. That's terrible to discover. And I went, I'm insane. I'm insane. Like,
well, he says it all the time.
I know, but the fact that I automatically went to that without thought, I wonder, have I been sitting like at a tiki bar on the beach and just go, let's go hunt, dun, 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 dun. Let's go hunt. And people look over and be like, don't serve him anymore.
Oh my gosh. And then sometimes you do it in his voice. Let's go hunt.
Let's go hunt.
Let's go hunt.
Let's go hunt. Let's go hunt.
Oh my gosh.
It is pretty funny. But yeah, the Baby Shark thing is not going anywhere. I actually hope it doesn't, because it really is a comforting thing for him. Like, he really enjoys it.
He does.
And everybody's
he loves
a shark. Like, I'm Daddy Shark, you're Mommy Shark.
Yes.
He's assigned some type of shark persona to really everybody.
Well, and then he turns Play-Doh into sharks. But the interesting thing he turns into sharks are clothes on the floor.
Physically, he'll make them into sharks.
Yeah. Clothes, and he'll make it swim.
He's actually pretty good at it.
I know. Like, it's pretty funny.
We'll have to get video of it and put it on, Facebook, Instagram, whatever.
Yeah.
Because it is really kind of interesting how
he makes the body move.
I mean, he really turns clothes into shark, and not just his clothes, anybody's clothes. He's done it with towels before.
Oh, yeah.
Blankets.
Blankets.
Yeah, pillowcases. It's really kind of interesting.
It is interesting.
I went in there one day, and there was a full aquarium of clothes. I mean, he had all these, because he does dolphins, he does whale sharks, clownfish. There's another kind of fish he's really into now.
He knows the sea life. It's crazy.
Yeah, water.
Yeah.
But we've talked before. These kids a lot of them are obsessed with water, which is scary because, the drownings with autism is, it's not good.
Well, so we have a pool in our backyard, and so we have a gate around it, and we literally have gates all through our house to keep him safe. So one thing with him is he does not know danger,
Yeah.
He doesn't understand it.
No, he doesn't.
And a lot of it with autistic children is safety. He can't just go outside, and you can't say, don't go in the road, because then a car is going to come and he's going to get ran over, We always keep him very close to us. We always have somebody in the house watching him at all times, because he can't be left alone because of the choking thing, and we do worry about the pool.
Well, and we were talking about, 10, 12 minutes ago about that family. I don't even know him, but the guy that I was on LinkedIn with, and his kid with the car wash. It's water. I wonder if that's a water thing. Just how it sounds, how it bubbles up on the windows, watching it stream down the windows. I mean, it is kind of peaceful now that I think of it. Water is, I'm a water guy. I love water too.
Right.
So I wonder if that's the connection, but it is dangerous. I mean, his favorite place really is the beach. I mean, he'll say beach, 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 beach over and over again. But
and there's
scary.
a lot of sensations you get there,
The sand on your
sand,
toes.
the water.
Yep, the water, and even like the salt. The smell of the salt's a little bit different in the air.
Yeah.
And the waves, I think, crashing against you. A wave will knock him down. I mean, we're on the Gulf of Mexico, so these aren't really big waves, but he's a little guy. But they knock him down. He laughs. Because his hand will go in the sand. He also loves too when the waves. How like the waves will come in, but when the waves wash out and your legs almost start sinking in the sand. It is kind of a cool feeling.
Yeah.
He loves it.
He does love it.
So,
well, even with him, if we go for a beach walk or something, you don't know what you're going to get. And we just stopped trying not to let him do whatever because you just have to let him be free. And sometimes he'll literally just lay in the sand in his clothes when we're trying to do a beach walk and rub all over because he wants that sensation and you just have to let him do it.
Yeah.
We've given up on that, like fighting it.
Isn't that funny how much you have to give? You almost have to give up a lot when you do all this. It is. We really have given up a lot. I think I said in the podcast yesterday, I was talking about our other kids and how we're like strict, me really probably more so than you, about their eating habits, manners at the table and stuff like that.
Yeah.
With him, just whatever. How are you?
Yeah, I mean, he's still learning to use utensils, but you're never going to say, stop chomping.
Yeah, I mean, it's, you just have to,
don't lick your fingers.
Right. It's just, you just put on a different lens. And I mean, our, 4-year-old retriever has better manners than Cal right now. It's just the way it is.
You just have to give up certain things.
Right.
I mean, it's better just to like let things go than get frustrated. And we talked yesterday about patience.
Well, yeah, and then when he eats, at times it's crazy, and then the other kids, I've seen them look at him and then kind of look at me, and they're like, "Really? You're gonna let that go?"
Well, so for instance, like the seeker in him, yesterday he had water in his mouth and he's gargling it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and there's a phase now where he's trying to talk with water in his mouth, which is very funny actually.
I know,
because it makes the word sound funny, but he's doing it so that we tell him to not do it. We tell him. I don't say anything. I'm like, if you want to talk with water in your mouth, like this will not be today's nuclear meltdown.
But that water leads to other things, like him spitting it on the couch, him spitting it on his iPad.
He has ruined,
10 iPads?
Maybe more. But yeah, somewhere around there.
Yeah.
That he'll get them, he'll fill his mouth up with water, and he will literally spit a mouthful of water, which comes out of it looks like a nozzle coming out of your hose, all over the iPad. The iPad dies like instantly, because they're not designed for floods. And
there's not one safe enough for him.
No. So, God bless Amazon. I mean, they're a frustrating company in a lot of ways, but I cannot believe that somebody from Amazon hasn't called and said, hey, why do you return iPads like every 3 weeks? Because, they just replace it. They keep replacing it.
Well, and you have bought different ones and tried.
Well, in the beginning, yes, we had to try different ones. We have this one. It's not an Apple iPad. It's a certain brand.
Tablet.
Yeah, and it's, kind of made for abuse.
Yeah, destruction.
And it doesn't really handle it well, but it does last. I mean, if we get a month out of these tablets, that's a win.
It is, yeah. And he likes the tablet. I mean, and people...
Actually, we have one right now we have to take back because it's broken and they need to send us another one.
We do.
Yeah.
Yep. Which actually, one thing... when he was diagnosed, there's different foundations and stuff, and I can't think of the one it was, but they actually sent us an iPad, which was very nice because people talk about technology and don't let your kids have screen time and stuff, but actually, it's actually good for autistic children, and he does learn a lot from it.
He does. He's that's one thing that connects with him. Yeah, and I forget the name of that. We should really give them credit at some point.
I'll have to look it up.
We
but
will.
That's very nice.
It's his foundation, and if you get a diagnosis, they will send you an iPad. What's crazy, I mean, they sent an Apple. This is a nice. It was one of the latest generation iPads. We get it, and I'm like, well, there's no way we're giving this to him because he's going to destroy it.
Right. So I use it, or we keep it in the kitchen so he can sit in his high chair and watch Baby Shark.
Yeah, he's
so
not allowed to hold it because of the glass. We have a case and everything. It doesn't matter. He will find a way to destroy this thing. But he watches his, videos on it or stuff, or you will use it to do things for him. There's so much paperwork that has to be done with his schools and his therapists and stuff. So you'll use it kind of for him.
But I thought that was a fantastic thing.
It was. I just remember pulling it out of the box and going, hell no, he's never touching this thing. Like,
Yeah, and it's an
no
Apple
way.
iPad. It's nice.
Yeah, it's really I mean, yeah.
It's the full size.
It's awesome. I mean, yeah.
But
Whoever those people are, we'll give them some credit. But and they reached out to us. That was crazy, I think.
No, I did reach out to them.
Oh, you did?
Yes. When he was diagnosed, you get this whole pamphlet full of paperwork, and I went through
that's
it.
Right. Somebody sent us a thing. When you get the diagnosis, these are like foundations, organizations that can help you out with things. Because honestly, you get the diagnosis, it's like hitting Control Alt Delete. Like you don't know where to go, what to do. Because you're like, okay, I have this diagnosis. What does that? Like what does that mean? Because like that piece of paper doesn't change your life the next day. You don't wake up and you're like, hey, we're an autistic family. And
I think there's some people that don't do anything with it. There's actually a pamphlet in there, the first 100 days of being diagnosed, like for the parents. Me, I just sucked it up and did my crying and then just was full speed ahead with everything I had to do to try to give him the best life possible.
You know what we should do? It's a good point. We should probably make a list and put it on, social media, LinkedIn and stuff of like all these places you can go to get some resources, whether it's an iPad or...
Yeah, we should.
There's so many things, like even Social Security. We've been going through that conversation.
Yeah.
There are people, we don't, but there are people who have kids who have been diagnosed who are young and their kids collect Social Security.
Yeah.
And we don't really understand how that happens because these kids have never had a job, but I think it's something related to disability. I've read about it before, and we've kind of researched it. It really looks like a ton of paperwork.
Yeah, I think some kids get it at a young age. Other kids, I don't know if they wait till they're 18 or what,
Yeah.
but it is a disability. So
well, and then listen, there are added, like I'm not gonna pretend, there are certain foods. I put something on Facebook the other day about him. Someone was like, "Oh, describe autism," and I'm like, "Funyuns for breakfast," and they're like, "What do you mean?" And I'm like, "He eats Funyuns for breakfast." Like I don't know what to tell you, but
it's a very unique taste,
Yeah.
and he likes strong flavors.
Yeah, so like there are things you need to spend money on that you otherwise wouldn't. I'm not saying Funyuns are a huge expense, but there are things that bite bracelets,
Diapers.
Yeah, I mean we still buy diapers for a 4.5-year-old. They're wildly expensive and getting more expensive, which is crazy. There are special.
Well, some people use weighted blankets. That never worked for him.
Well, his pool toys are totally different and special because he still needs swim lessons. Like there are so many things that you just wouldn't and I'm not saying you wouldn't understand it because you're dumb, just because you may not be in this situation because we didn't understand it. I
had to find a special high chair that can fit him for a long time.
Yeah, we have two high chairs, and the customized one was not cheap, and he hates it.
I know he wants the other one that's literally falling apart. But he wants that one, and if I throw it away, he's gonna get very upset.
Yeah, and he barely fits in it. And the one that's expensive, he hates, which is really nice, and it's kind of customized for special needs. It's really good.
You can take it apart and make it a table
Different
and a chair.
Sizes. Yeah, and he hates it, so you have to spend money on things like that. But it's just, there's so many things. There's so many things that we should put that out. Like maybe I'll work on that before football comes on.
Yeah, sounds good.
A list of, even if it's just like 10 things, 10 places to go to get information. People know about Autism Speaks. They know about, there's some other, organizations that are great, but there are some smaller foundations and scholarships and stuff like that.
Well, I've even talked on Facebook before about things, and there's people that have had kids that have been diagnosed for a long time, and they're like, what is that? How did you hear about that? So it is like this whole community that you just have to keep sharing to learn more, It
is true. And you do learn by kind of connecting with other people going through this. And it's really, honestly, I belong to all these groups. It's not a pity party. Most of these people are sharing their victories, like their good stuff. There are some negative people out there with this whole thing, but all of my pages I belong to and groups, for my favorite football teams, there's a bunch of negative people in there too. It's like anything else.
Yeah.
You belong to a bunch of hairstylist pages. There's some people on there that you're like, pound sand, you're so negative, So there is that. But most of these people, especially a few of the Facebook groups I'm on, they're pretty positive. Like it's a lot of like wins, sharing wins and victories. And now the victories are crazy. Like, hey, my kid ate an entire piece of toast. and I get it. Family's not dealing with this. I'll just be like, oh, God, what is that all about? But, man, if you know, you know.
Yeah, and we'll have to talk about it a different day, but we even had to do food therapy before.
Yeah.
You know, there's so much that goes into it. So
special needs, it is, you know, I've always been somebody that it's like, don't play the victim card. You know, I really can't stand people who play it.
Oh, yeah.
I just can't, because the second you start blaming other people for your problems, like you really have, it's over. Like it is game over.
Yeah.
You're blaming other people for whatever scenario that you're in. But it is tough. Food, sleep, everything. I mean, the gut issues on a lot of autistic kids. I mean, he's got gut issues. Like he'll get these random fevers and we immediately go into paralysis mode. Every time he gets a fever, I have this horrible anxiety that we're going to wind up in the emergency room because it's happened before.
And I don't know how long you want this to last because we can always do another podcast, but we're scared of fevers because of the fever or the seizure that he had.
Right. He had that. Is it called febrile?
Yeah, I was trying to say it as I was talking.
Febrile seizure. Now, this does not happen to just special needs. Because this happens to a lot. They actually say most kids get this in their sleep.
I think before the age of 5.
Yeah. And usually if you get one of these, you won't get another one. Usually. But we're talking about, we were right in the middle of coronavirus. I'm not talking Delta, Omicron, Gamma, Zeta, Alpha, Phi. I'm talking the original coronavirus.
That started in March, the shutdowns.
2020. And
this happened in April.
Yeah. So it is like nobody was going to work. Schools were closed. You call 911. I'll never forget their first question was, does anyone in the house have coronavirus? And I'm like, no. Does anyone have symptoms similar to coronavirus? And I'm like, lady, get over here. My kid is passed out. I mean, you know, it's like, you're so worried about coronavirus. Get over here. And it was, I'll never forget, I couldn't remember our address. That's the first question they actually ask you. Hi, 911, what's the address of the emergency? I seized up.
I know, and I'm in the middle of holding our child that's literally...
and she's like, sir, you have to calm down. I'm like, I can't. And now I'm thinking I need an ambulance. Like, because I thought maybe I was like having a heart attack or something.
I know. It's crazy when there's an emergency and you literally like...
But he was out.
Freeze.
I mean, he totally collapsed. And so it was a febrile. I hope I'm saying febrile. Febrile?
Something like that.
Yeah.
Febrile.
Fever, yeah. And anyway, so
it's a seizure from a fever, and it typically only happens once, like you said. But then his next fever after that, we were so scared.
No, every fever after that, we're scared. Every fever, like come on, we're just
and it literally
we cancel
jumped.
plans. We cancel our other kids' plan. It really is unfair, but it's like I'm ready for the seizure, because it's like that was like none other. And then, of course, I can't go to the hospital because it was coronavirus. Only the ambulance, the paramedic guy pushed me out of the van. Like he palmed my chest. I tried to get in because I didn't have a mask on.
Yeah.
Because I didn't care about a mask on because my kid's having a seizure. You know what I'm saying?
And these people are protected from head to toe. I remembered when they brought us in from the ambulance to the hospital and there was nobody in the hospital. Like they had all the patients in their room. Like
Dude,
the waiting room, there was no waiting room.
They do something interesting here. I'm saying it's probably a good thing. So that the ambulance shows up first, but then a fire truck comes also. The firefighter guys got out, and if you saw the end of E.T. when those space guys were coming into the house,
the suits.
You know what I mean? Yeah, and they were breathing. They're like,
that's what it was like.
He got out with the spacesuits on, and I'm like, whoa. I was like, I don't know what's going on here, but the aliens have landed or something, man. It was crazy.
Well, and when the doctors came into the hospital room, every time they exited, they'd have to take everything off, and they'd have to put all new stuff on every single time because of COVID.
And
anyway,
you know,
that seizure was so scary.
And back then, you know, the doctors, everybody thought, okay, he's having a reaction to coronavirus. Like nobody knew back then that's not really the way this goes. You know what I mean? But nobody knew. We were like a month into this thing, and they were still trying to figure out coronavirus, remember?
And I've never experienced a seizure. I mean, I literally thought he was dying in my arms.
Yeah. They go blank. Like, it's funny. They say seizure. It's really not a seizure. It's a collapse. They collapse.
I didn't even know what I was supposed to be doing, but I did keep him on his side because I had him towards my chest, and that's what you're supposed to do. But his eyes were rolling back in the back of his head.
That was the scary part. The eyes rolling back. I mean, you literally are limp, and you're burning up hot. But apparently, so that's what your body does. That's like the ultimate, like, I'm going to just completely pass out. And then the seizure, like, or the fever, like, just like, it's like a wildfire. Like, it explodes. But what's crazy, he came back in like, what, 60 seconds? 2 minutes, maybe? I mean, it was a long 2 minutes. It felt like forever. But
It was a lot. It was at least 2 minutes.
Yeah, but when he came back, it was really weird. He came right back.
Well, so we yelled for our neighbor.
Yeah.
He ran over, so he's trying to keep me calm when Mark's on the phone with 911. And when he popped up out of the seizure, out of the pass out stage, he didn't even want me. He wanted our neighbor.
Yeah.
It was the weirdest thing.
He didn't know what to do.
He
And then
was like,
the ambulance is here for a while. Because, they're asking their questions like, do you want to go to the hospital? I'm like, well, hell yeah, they're going to the hospital. I mean, we just can't assume everything's okay. You know what I mean? Like, this is crazy. And of course, they see this stuff all the time. So they're sort of desensitized. I remember, didn't one of the paramedics was like, yeah, this is one of those infant febrile.
yes.
Remember they were kind of like, no big deal. And I'm like, no, we're not.
Yeah, and I'm like, my kid felt like it was dying in my arms.
Yeah, we're not going to do that. No, I know you see this every day at work, but we're not going to do that. We're going to go. But I think at one point, as you guys were pulling out, and like I said, they wouldn't let me go, he was watching videos on an iPad.
Yeah.
Yeah, which I think made us feel better.
Right.
And then you get to the hospital, and they're like, they do all the tests. They're like, he's fine. He's just remember the doctor's like, this might happen again. Oh, that was the thing. They're like, there's a high chance this could happen again in 24 hours, remember? But if you get out of the 24 hours, you're in good shape. We didn't sleep for 24 hours, remember?
Yeah, but
you slept, like, it was like on and off. Like, you slept in his room and you were up all night.
Right.
And then in the morning you went to sleep, and I think I sat out there with him in the living room for a while because you were up all night. You woke up like every hour taking his temp.
Well, and he still had a fever. So when we got to the hospital, what was his fever? Did I say? Because whenever it spiked and he had a seizure,
104. It was 103 for sure.
it was the highest I've ever seen.
Yeah, and it felt. I mean, his eyes looked like they were on fire. Like he was
so hot. It was awful. But before they have the seizure, they peak to the highest point, and that's what makes them seize.
That's what I'm saying. It's like the wildfire. It just like flares up, like they almost catch on fire, and then their body drops out.
I just couldn't believe by the time we made it to the hospital, which was, 40 minutes after his seizure?
Yeah.
Maybe longer. By the time they took his temperature, it was still so high. It was scary.
Yeah. Anyway, that's a fever story for you.
Well,
that's our fever.
Seizures
and febriles. Seizures. I'm not saying that word right. There's no way I'm saying that word right. Okay, 36 minutes in.
It's pretty good, man.
It's pretty good,
We don't even plan what we're going to say.
Yeah, I sort of think that's the bet. I don't know. I think that's maybe that. Here's the thing about living like this. Because, it really is a small audience of people that have to deal with this. But we talk about this stuff all the time. So we were sort of just like, well, you've got this page on Facebook that you've really devoted to doing a lot of great content. And
there's a lot of people that have special needs on that page.
Yeah, it kind of turned in. It's funny, they kind of took it that way.
Yeah.
So it's cool. So we thought, well, we live this and it's crazy. And I think part of the craziness for us, well, I can just tell you part of the craziness for us is that we have 4 other kids. So with 5 kids and adding all this in, and they have a life, they have friends, they play sports. I mean, we're supposed to have a doubleheader this afternoon for baseball. The girls have flag football next week. There's real football.
Jiu-jitsu for Tyler.
You own a hair studio.
You're going to school.
I'm going back to school. I buy and sell businesses and do that.
And then loads of therapy for Cal.
Loads of therapy, and it's just, and then we sit in this closet once in a while with microphones and do this. So it really, it's, and that's not to say, listen, we're not any busier or less busy than anybody else out there. This is just how we roll.
Yep.
This is how we roll. But you know what? We're lucky because I couldn't, back when I worked for the radio station, getting up at 4:00 in the morning and going to work and on the air till the radio show was 6 to 10. And then we'd spend, an hour and a half after that in worthless meetings with a worthless boss, totally wasting time. Then I would come home and try to make up for those worthless meetings with a worthless boss and try to do real work for the radio show. And the next thing you know, it would be like 4 in the afternoon. I'm exhausted. I have to go get a workout in.
Yeah.
I couldn't do all that. We couldn't do, and you didn't work back then, but we couldn't do that now. It's just.
No, I can't even imagine. I mean, I can't even imagine how that used to look.
I know. Our flexibility now is pretty awesome.
Especially, he wasn't even diagnosed until after you left the radio station.
Yeah.
So all the therapy and stuff on top of that just started after. So
Yeah, it really is interesting how it all just sort of
worked out.
it worked out. Yeah, it is. I mean, it just worked out, and it's still crazy and nuts and everything. But I tell people all the time who are, well, just social media stuff, like they'll write, but this is going to find a way to carve itself out, and you're just gonna go along with it. And then you're going to wake up one day and be like, wow, this is okay. Like we sort of got this.
Yeah, we figured it out.
Yeah, when the special needs families go, oh, we got this, we figured it out. I'm like, nah, you're lying. Because you're never in control of this life, ever. I woke up today and I said, okay, you want to do the podcasting today, so we'll do the podcasting today. You made an awesome breakfast. That's great. I got to take Trey to his baseball games.
Mm-hmm.
You'll go for a little while with Cal, but
I have to drive separate.
Because you don't know what's going to happen. And the other goal today is I'm going to get I'm going to work out and run 3 miles.
That's good.
And you'll work out. You're not going to run 3 miles, but you'll work out.
I'm not going to run 3 miles, but if I had a Peloton, I'd get on it.
Yeah, we're not doing
I'm
that.
just going to get weights.
Yeah.
Use weights.
No.
But the craziest thing is yesterday, Cal had a very, very good day from start to finish, which makes me feel very anxious that today is going to be a little scary.
That's where you and I are so different. I get up and I go, the light at the end of the tunnel may in fact be a train, and I accept it. I don't worry about it. I let it,
Well, I'm
but
just
you're
like,
better
what's
at planning
going
for
to
it.
happen? I mean,
you are better at planning for it. You have a lot more anxiety
yes, I do.
because you have a plan. I have very little plans and accept what's going to happen is going to happen, but then that's where I get in trouble. Like you have the pre-anxiety. You have anxiety. I have failure.
Oh
you
my
plan
gosh.
for it so it doesn't turn into a failure. I just get pancaked with the failure.
No, it's just very rare that we have 2 good days, start to finish, back to back.
Yeah.
I mean, when was the last time that happened?
Oh, you know what?
Never.
Remind me, we were talking about fevers. We will get out of here because I don't know if people listen this long, but we were talking about fevers. There's this article, there's these people doing this study, how fevers are a temporary cure for autism. I showed you the study the other day.
Yeah, you told me, and it actually makes sense. It's the weirdest thing.
I am not saying I buy into a fever as a temporary cure, so don't get all conspiracy theory. I'm telling you what the study said, and the things that the study brought up were really interesting. And when Cal gets a fever, I'm just telling you there's something different that happens.
Yeah, you would never know at that time by looking at
Don't
him.
talk about. See, now you're ruining the tease.
Oh.
For next time. Now.
Sorry.
You're just.
This is new.
Yeah.
Well, all right. I'm out of here.
You'd have sucked in the radio business.
Well, that's why I never got in it.
Tell you all that all the time.
Not my career.
I can't cut hair and do extensions, so you win that battle.
All right.
All right. The goal is today. You got to work out, and we're gonna work out and run 3 miles.
And drink green juice.
We're gonna drink a green
Spinach.
juice, and we're going to have a cold beer when the football games come on.
Hallelujah.
The Redskins are out, so as long as Dallas loses, I'm happy.